There's a food sitting in your fridge right now that you're about to reheat tonight. And doctors are warning it could be quietly feeding cancer cells. Not junk food. Not fast food. I'm talking about the leftover rice from last night. The chicken breast you meal prepped on Sunday. The spinach you sautéed for dinner. Even the boiled eggs in your lunchbox. You've been told your whole life, just heat it until it's hot, and it's safe. But Dr. William Li, one of the world's leading cancer researchers, says that advice is dangerously incomplete. Because it's not about whether the food is hot enough to kill bacteria. It's about what happens to the food itself, at a molecular level, every single time you heat it a second time. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact 4 foods you should stop reheating today, the hidden chemistry that turns them dangerous, and the simple fix that lets you still eat your leftovers safely. Stick around for number 4. It's the one almost nobody talks about, and it's probably in your fridge right now. Let's get into it. Why just heat it up is the wrong rule. For decades, food safety advice has focused on one thing: temperature. Heat your leftovers to 165 degrees. Kill the bacteria, you're fine. But Dr. Li explains that bacteria was never the whole story. The real danger isn't just what's living in your food, it's what your food chemically becomes after it's been cooked once, cooled, stored, and then blasted with heat again. Think of it like this. Cooking food the first time is like baking a cake. The ingredients transform once, and that's expected. But reheating is like putting that same cake back in the oven at a higher temperature, day after day. Eventually, you're not baking anymore. You're breaking the structure down into something your body was never designed to process. And according to Dr. Li, 3 biochemical processes are responsible for almost all of the risk. Understand these 3, and you'll understand exactly why these 4 foods made his list. The 3 hidden mechanisms. Mechanism 1. Oxidation. Every time cooked food sits exposed to air, in the fridge, on the counter, in a container with a loose lid, the fats and proteins inside start reacting with oxygen. This creates unstable molecules called lipid peroxides, and a byproduct called malondialdehyde, or MDA. Dr. Li points out that MDA isn't just a random chemical. It's been studied for its ability to damage DNA directly. Mechanism 2. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs. This happens when proteins and sugars are repeatedly exposed to high heat. Every time you reheat a protein and carb combination, you're accelerating the formation of AGEs. And AGEs don't just sit quietly in your body. Dr. Li explains they promote chronic inflammation, the kind linked to a whole list of diseases, cancer included. Mechanism 3. Nitrite conversion. This one's sneaky, because it hides in healthy food. Many vegetables, and some meats, naturally contain nitrates. Totally fine on their own. But when that food is stored, then reheated, those nitrates can convert into nitrites, and under the right conditions, nitrites transform again into nitrosamines, a compound officially classified as a carcinogen. So now you have 3 separate chemical pathways: oxidation, glycation, and nitrite conversion, all quietly working against you every time that leftover container goes back in the microwave. Here's where it gets specific. Dr. Li breaks down exactly which foods trigger which of these pathways. And the first one might be sitting in your rice cooker right now. Food number 1. Cooked rice. Rice feels like the safest leftover on earth. It's bland, it's simple. It's been a staple food for thousands of years. That's exactly why this one surprises people. The problem isn't really about reheating rice. It's about what happens to rice before you even reheat it. Raw rice can carry spores of a bacteria called Bacillus cereus. Normal cooking doesn't necessarily kill these spores. They can survive the boil. Then, if rice sits out at room temperature, those spores wake up and start producing a heat-resistant toxin. And that's the key word: heat-resistant. You can reheat that rice until it's steaming hot, and the toxin survives anyway. Dr. Lee explains this toxin has been shown to damage the mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside your cells. On top of that, every time rice is reheated at high temperature, there's the potential formation of acrylamide, a compound that's been classified as a probable carcinogen. So you've got a double risk sitting in that rice container: a heat-resistant toxin from bacterial storage, plus a possible carcinogen from the reheating process itself. The fix isn't complicated though, and I'll give you Dr. Lee's exact storage window at the end of this video, because timing is everything with rice. Number 2. Cooked chicken. Chicken is probably the most meal-prepped food on the planet. Cook it Sunday, portion it out, reheat it all week. Feels efficient. Feels healthy. Here's the catch, according to Dr. Lee: chicken is high in protein, and when that protein is exposed to high reheating temperatures, especially searing heat like a pan or a hot microwave spot, it undergoes protein oxidation. This oxidation process forms compounds called heterocyclic amines, or HCAs. And these aren't some minor footnote. Dr. Lee points out that HCAs are known to interact directly with DNA. That's not inflammation. That's not may increase risk over decades. That's a compound physically capable of binding to your genetic material. The more times you reheat that chicken breast, and the higher the heat you use, the more HCA formation you're risking. That microwave setting where you blast it on high for 2 minutes because you're in a hurry? That might be the worst possible way to do it. Now, if chicken surprised you, wait until you hear what happens to something as simple as spinach. Food number 3. Spinach and leafy greens. This is the one that catches health-conscious people off guard, because spinach is supposed to be the safe food, the vegetable you feel good about eating. But remember mechanism 3, nitrite conversion? Leafy greens like spinach are naturally nitrate-rich. That's actually normal and usually not a problem when you eat them fresh. The danger shows up in the storage then reheat cycle. Once cooked spinach sits in the fridge, those nitrates can start converting into nitrites. Then, when you reheat that spinach, especially in the microwave, you create the exact conditions for those nitrites to convert again into nitrosamines, the same carcinogen classification we talked about earlier. So the healthiest-looking leftover in your fridge can become one of the riskiest, purely because of how long it sat and how it was reheated. Food number 4. Eggs. Eggs feel indestructible. Hard-boil a batch, keep them in the fridge, grab one whenever. Reheat leftover scrambled eggs for a quick breakfast. It feels foolproof. But eggs have one ingredient that makes them uniquely vulnerable to reheating: cholesterol, concentrated in the yolk. When egg yolk is reheated, particularly in a microwave, where heating is uneven and intense in certain spots, that cholesterol can oxidize. This forms compounds called oxysterols. And Dr. Lee points out these aren't just less healthy. Oxysterols have documented genotoxic effects, meaning they're capable of causing damage to DNA. So the same egg that was a perfectly healthy source of protein and nutrients the first time you cooked it can become chemically altered the second time you blast it with heat, especially in a microwave. 4 foods. 4 different pathways. Rice with its heat-resistant toxin and acrylamide risk. Chicken with its HCA formation. Spinach with its nitrosamine conversion. And eggs with oxidized cholesterol turning into genotoxic compounds. Now here's the good news. Dr. Lee isn't telling you to throw out your leftovers. He's telling you how to handle them so none of this happens. Dr. Lee's safety protocol. This is the part to actually write down. First, cook fresh when you can. Not every meal needs to be a leftover. Simple as that. Second, cool it fast. If you're storing rice, get it into the fridge within 1 hour of cooking. Don't let it sit out on the counter while you finish dinner and watch TV. For leafy greens like spinach, you have a slightly wider window, 6 hours, but sooner is always better. Third, Ditch the microwave for reheating. Dr. Lee recommends low-temperature ovens or a warm water bath instead. Gentle, even heat reduces the oxidation and compound formation we've been talking about this whole video. Fourth, never reheat twice. One reheat, that's it. Portion your leftovers into single servings before you refrigerate them, so you're never tempted to reheat a big batch. Eat some, then reheat the same batch again tomorrow. Fifth, and this one surprises people. For things like hard-boiled eggs or even leftover chicken, consider just eating them cold. A cold hard-boiled egg on a salad. Cold chicken sliced into a wrap. You skip the reheating risk entirely, and you still get the nutrition. So let's bring it all together. For foods to handle with real caution: rice, chicken, spinach, and eggs. Not because they're bad foods, they're some of the most nutritious things you can eat, but because of what happens to them after they're cooked, stored, and reheated. Cool fast. Reheat gently. Never twice. And when in doubt, eat it cold. If this video changed how you're going to handle your leftovers tonight, hit subscribe, because Dr. Lee breaks down the science behind everyday habits like this every single week, and the next one might be about something in your pantry right now.